The story of black labor in America is a story of resilience, resistance, and relentless exploitation. It is a story that begins with the transatlantic slave trade, a horrific chapter in human history that forcibly brought millions of Africans to the shores of the New World. These men, women, and children were not seen as human beings, but as commodities, as property, as units of labor to be bought, sold, and worked to death. The arrival of enslaved Africans marked the beginning of a centuries-long system of forced labor that would shape the economic and social fabric of the United States. The Southern economy, built on the backs of enslaved people, thrived on the production of cash crops like cotton, tobacco, and sugar. The labor was brutal, the conditions inhumane. Generations were born into bondage, their lives and labor controlled by a system designed to dehumanize and exploit them. Yet, even in the face of such unimaginable cruelty, enslaved Africans found ways to resist, to maintain their dignity, and to keep their culture and traditions alive. Their story is not just one of suffering, but also one of incredible strength and resilience. From the sprawling plantations of the South to the bustling cities of the North, enslaved Africans were forced to perform a wide range of labor that fueled the growth of the young nation. They toiled in the fields, planting, tending, and harvesting crops under the scorching sun. They built roads, bridges, and buildings, their skilled craftsmanship evident in structures that stand to this day. Domestic work, including cooking, cleaning, and childcare, was also performed by enslaved women, often under the constant threat of physical and sexual abuse. The exploitation of black labor was not limited to the South. Even in states where slavery was abolished, African Americans faced limited opportunities and were relegated to low-paying, physically demanding jobs. The legacy of this exploitation continues to cast a long shadow on American society. The end of the Civil War in 1865 brought about the abolition of slavery, but it did not bring about true freedom for African Americans. The promise of 40 acres and a mule remained largely unfulfilled, and many newly freed black people found themselves trapped in a new form of economic servitude, sharecropping. Under this system, black families rented land from white landowners, often their former enslavers, and paid for its use with a share of their crops. Trapped in cycles of debt and poverty, sharecroppers struggled to make a living, their lives still largely controlled by white landowners. The denial of economic opportunity and access to education kept many African Americans tied to the land, their labor exploited for the benefit of white landowners. This system, built on the backs of black labor, perpetuated racial and economic inequality for generations. Section 4. The Great Migration from Fields to Factories. The early 20th century witnessed a mass exodus of African Americans from the rural South to the industrial cities of the North and Midwest, a movement known as the Great Migration. Driven by the promise of better opportunities and fleeing the Jim Crow South, black families sought a new beginning in cities like Chicago, Detroit, and New York. While the North offered a reprieve from the overt racism and violence of the South, it did not offer true equality. African Americans faced discrimination in housing, education, and employment. They were often relegated to low-paying, dangerous jobs in factories and mills. Yet, despite these challenges, black communities flourished, creating vibrant cultural centers and contributing significantly to the growth of American industry. The Great Migration marked a turning point in the black labor experience, shifting from primarily agricultural work to industrial labor. Section 5. A Dream Deferred. Labor Inequality in the 20th Century. The fight for labor rights in the 20th century was deeply intertwined with the fight for civil rights. African Americans played a pivotal role in the labor movement, challenging discriminatory hiring practices, fighting for fair wages, and advocating for safe working conditions. Despite these efforts, racial disparities in employment and wages persisted. Black workers were often the first to be laid off during economic downturns, and the last to be hired when the economy improved. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin, a landmark victory in the fight for equality. However, the legacy of systemic racism continued to impact the lives of black workers, limiting their access to opportunity and perpetuating economic disparities. Section 6. The rise of the machines, automation, and the future of black labor. As we stand on the cusp of a new technological revolution, the rise of automation and artificial intelligence presents both challenges and opportunities for black workers. Historically, technological advancements have often led to job displacement, and the automation of labor-intensive jobs could disproportionately impact black workers who are overrepresented in these fields. The rise of humanoid robots capable of performing a wide range of tasks, from manufacturing to healthcare, raises concerns about the future of work for many. It is imperative that we address these challenges proactively and ensure that the benefits of technological advancements are shared equitably.